How's it going, Starseekers? My name's Gotcake, and welcome to this review of Hotel Sowls, a surreal point-and-click adventure game where you play as an unnamed clay-looking chappie in a bowler hat, who after finally tracking down a valuable stone, decides to stay the night at a hotel. After awakening to find his stone gone, he must then interrogate the strange occupants of the hotel to find and retrieve his stone, but he slowly discovers that all is not right in Hotel Sowls. So beginning at the main menu, we can quickly check out the options, which contain some audio and language settings as well as displaying the game's controls, and then we can dive straight into the game. In the opening animation, we see our main man heading to Sowls after spotting an article about the stone in the newspaper. He eventually tracks down the stone and then heads to Hotel Sowls, and we begin the game in the hotel lobby. Controls in the game are pretty simple. We move our character with the left thumbstick, and the right thumbstick moves the on-screen cursor, which we can use to interact with objects and people, providing that we're close enough to them. Now for the most part these controls work fine, but some objects in the game are pretty small and positioning the cursor can be a bit fiddly at times. So to begin with, we're introduced to the journal, which is an invaluable tool as it keeps track of important events and interactions with the staff. Our first port of call is the receptionist, who makes it blatantly clear that we can only stay at the hotel for 5 days and gives us our room key. We can then find the key in our inventory accessible by pressing Y, and here's where we'll store all the weird and wonderful objects we find throughout our stay in the hotel. Now the receptionist recommends that we head downstairs to the bar and have a couple of drinks before turning in for the night, but we can in fact take a wander around the hotel and speak to a few of its inhabitants, just to get a bit of a feel for the game's weirdness. After this we can head up to our room, whose door we can unlock by using the key from our inventory, and then we can sleep until morning of day 2, where we awaken to find our room ransacked and the stone missing. From this point onward we're free to explore the hotel and interrogate its occupants regarding the whereabouts of our missing stone. Each interaction with them gets logged in the staff notes page of our journal, which is very useful for keeping tabs on who we've spoken to. So as we work our way through the game and the story unfolds, we begin to realise that not everything's as it seems. The hotel's occupants are all rather strange. Some provide you with useful information, and others provide you with items that you can eat or wear, but several make no sense at all when you try and strike up conversation with them. Now throughout the hotel you'll find many strange objects to interact with, whose uses are not always immediately apparent, and I have a feeling that there are quite a few objects which are solely put there just to confuse you. Now we also find journal entries scattered about the hotel from a mysterious writer. These notes get stored in the strange notes section of our journal, but these just lead to more questions about the hotel and its staff. Who is here? What is it? And why is there a dead salmon in the swimming pool? So in order to progress the story, we usually need to interact with the correct people or perform some sort of action. Each time you complete a set of actions, the day will progress, and you'll then have to work out where to go and what to do next. Now for the most part there are clues which lead you towards the correct conclusion, but you also need to investigate each room thoroughly and speak to everyone and take note of what they're telling you. The journal notes you find also play a big part, as they not only deliver the game's story, but they also provide clues required to progress, so your best option is to scour the hotel for these. If you find yourself getting a bit stuck and not knowing what to do, I recommend looking back through your journal and your staff notes to see if you've accidentally overlooked something. Now I was able to work my way through the majority of the game before I got a bit stuck and had to look up what to do next in a guide. One reason for this was that I had gathered so many obscure items that I wasn't sure what was useful and what wasn't. The second reason was that whilst the game's art style is quite unique, interactable objects in it don't always stand out very well against the rest of the environment, and I often found myself sweeping my cursor across the screen in order to identify anything that I might have missed. For the most part though, I was able to progress through the story without much trouble, and in the end I managed to obtain 3 of the game's 8 endings. Despite this, I'm still left with many questions and the desire to head back into the game to find out what I've missed and how to unlock the other 5 endings. The game's main storyline plays out relatively quickly depending on how fast you work out where to go and what to do, and it took me about 2 hours to get my first ending. I was then able to resume a game from just before this first completion, which enabled me to get the other 2 endings after about another half an hour of playing, but considering the fact that I still had an inventory full of unused items, I would estimate the game still has several more hours of gameplay to offer. Now I've not wanted to get too deep into the storyline with this review to avoid spoilers, but I will say that it's quite an interesting one, and you should expect it to be about as odd and surreal as the rest of the game. I haven't actually played a point and click adventure in quite some time, so I found Hotel Sowls to be quite a refreshing change from many of the other titles that have recently released on the Switch. I really enjoyed the game's visuals, surreal environment and atmosphere, and I'd definitely recommend it to anyone who enjoys point and click adventures and is looking for something a bit different. So now we come to rating the game. Now I rate games between 1 and 5 stars, with the shovelware stamp of approval awarded to only the worst eShop titles. This rating is based on my own personal opinion on what a game has to offer in terms of gameplay and value for money to potential buyers. And for a rating I'd give Hotel Sowls 3 out of 5 stars. If you're a fan of the surreal or just looking for a change of pace, then I definitely recommend giving Hotel Sowls a go. Its multitude of endings provide some decent replayability, and its art direction and overall strangeness will no doubt leave a lasting impression on anyone who plays it. The game is set to release on Nintendo Switch on the 30th of July 2020, and you can get it from the UK Switch eShop currently with 10% discount for £5.93, or from the US eShop for $7.19. Alternatively, the game's also available on Steam. How's it going, Starseekers? If you enjoyed this review, make sure you give that like button a tap and let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section below. As always, subscribe to be notified of future Switch indie game reviews, and hop onto the Starseekers Discord server to join the growing community on there. For now though, I just want to say thanks once again for watching, and until next time, game on.